John, this is not always done after these attacks. Why now, do you think?
No, this is a major development and shows just how seriously that the people who are in charge of security, monitoring and so on, and monitoring terrorists view the current situation. This is a decision not taken by ministers, but endorsed by the Home Secretary. It's a body called the Joint Terrorism Analysis Centre, which have raised the national threat level from substantial to severe, meaning an attack is likely in the next 6 months. Now, as the announcement says, it follows yesterday's stabbing, but it's not solely as a result of that attack. The statement says the terrorist threat level in the UK has been rising for some time, driven by an increase in broader Islamist and extreme right-wing terrorist threats from individuals and small groups based in the UK. So it suggests that this body has been considering this move, perhaps for some time, even before yesterday's stabbing. The threat level is set independently, they say, but it comes against a backdrop of increased state-linked physical threats, encouraging acts of violence, including against the Jewish community. And it talks about this being an independent, systematic and rigorous process based on the very latest intelligence and analysis of internal and external factors which drive this threat. Well, the external factors must be obviously the effect of the impact of the war in the Middle East and the threat from Iran and Iran-linked organisations or people. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has said this. She says that I know this is going to be a source of concern to many, particularly among our Jewish community who have suffered so much. She says, she talks about increased investment, which was announced by the PM this morning, record funding to protect policing at synagogues, schools and community services. And she repeats really what the Prime Minister was saying this afternoon. She says, as the threat level rises, I urge everyone to be vigilant as they go about their daily lives. I can assure everyone our world-class security services and the police are working day and night. So the background to this is that the UK was last at severe November 2021. That followed the Liverpool Women's Hospital bombing and the murder of Sir David Amess, the former MP in Essex, before being lowered to substantial. That was in February 2022. You remember Sir David Amess was killed by someone who attended his surgery. He was a Southend MP. And the government says that, well, it talks about the £25 million, £58 million so far this year. And she talks about, well, it goes on to talk about the fast-tracking of legislation that the Prime Minister was talking about. But this is a major move. And as the announcement says, it was November 2021, so it's been down at substantial February 2022. That's more than 2 years. So we can say that the country is on heightened alert, not only following the Golders Green stabbing, but clearly what the security services regard as major threats, not just here in the UK, but from overseas as well.
Yeah, John, I mean, is this an independent decision or is this a political decision?
Well, the government always stresses that this body is independent from government. It's called the Joint Terrorism Analysis Centre. It's made up of spooks and the various other security chiefs. But no doubt the government will have been kept informed as to what was the threat, no doubt the government will have been told, look, we think we perhaps should increase this. Ministers always stress this is not our decision. It is taken independently. yesterday. But clearly, given the words from Shabana Mahmood, she clearly is endorsing this and agrees with it. And it's no surprise, perhaps, that this follows there was a Cobra meeting yesterday afternoon. The meeting with the Prime Minister chaired this morning was more to do with the court processes, but it may well have been discussed at that meeting as well, that the government called a round table. There were indeed police chiefs there, security chiefs there. So it does follow two high-profile meetings involving ministers and the security services and indeed the Metropolitan Police and no doubt all the intelligence services as well. So we perhaps shouldn't be surprised. I think what's particularly interesting is where they say that it's not solely as a result of yesterday's attack, that the terrorist threat has been rising for some time, driven by an increase in broader Islamist and extreme right-wing terrorist threats from individuals and small groups based in the UK. But then it talks also about the threat from overseas as well. So clearly, the war in the Middle East and the threat of attacks linked to the Iranian regime, that presumably is a factor as well. The Prime Minister has suggested today that the government will, at long last, ban the body that, of course, the MPs have been calling for to be banned for a long time. The let me get this right, IGCS. The people like MPs like Sir Ian Duncan Smith and Tom Tugendhat have been saying this has got to happen very soon. It was recommended by the terrorism advisor to the government, Jonathan Hall. Tories didn't do it. Last year, Yvette Cooper said she wasn't going to do it, but now that looks as though that is going to happen. So there are major moves happening to protect the public, the government will say, but of course they will insist this is not their decision, it's the decision of the independent experts.